Hello, everyone. We're going to get started in just a minute. Just looks like we've got quite a few people still joining, so I'm going to wait just another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll begin. Right, we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Ramacati. I'm the head of content for student events here at THE Student. Welcome to THE Student Funding Week. We are delighted to be spending the week talking about all things related to student funding, managing your finances, preparing for your education. And today's session is a really, really important one. I'm joined by Vivi, who is the founder and CEO of Black Bullion. She spent 10 years managing the wealth of high net worth individuals, and she founded Black Bullion for students to empower young people to take control of their finances. We are so excited to have her with us today to talk about the connection between financial well-being and your mental health. If you have questions throughout the session, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A, and we'll try to get to as many of those as possible. But without any further ado, I will hand it over to Vivi. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamie. It is great to be here. I hope everyone's got an amazing sunshine day. I'm like really loving what's going on over here in my window. So welcome everyone. Let's get straight into it. There is a lot to cover. As Jamie said, super duper happy for questions. Like genuinely, I think questions are sometimes the most interesting bit of these sessions. So if you've got any questions, I will do my very best to answer anything that you might want to know. But let's just pop up the old presentation and get cracking. So as Jamie wonderfully said, I'm the founder of Black Bullion. We're a financial well-being company for students. You can find us on Instagram at Black Bullion. And if you've got any other questions, obviously, feel free to ask them. But what we're really looking at focusing on today is looking at your financial well-being and how it relates to your mental health. I am sure that everybody who's on this call hopefully understands that your money and your mental health are really connected. There's no way to separate them. Never has been. We've just never really spoken about it in the way that we are today. So really excited to be sharing it with you. And so there's really sort of three things that I really want to cover. And then I've also put some tips and hacks in because everybody likes that. So just going to look at some of the basic foundation elements. So what is financial well-being and why is it important? Looking at the B word that everybody hates, but is the most important when it comes to money, which is budgeting, and looking at how to manage your money and your mental health. Because as I said, and as I will say several times, they are deeply connected. And if you look after the one, then often the other becomes a little bit easier. And then, as I said, some tips and hacks. So financial well-being is, from a kind of complicated technical terminology, there are really a couple of components to it. The first is it's about having security, about feeling as though you've got enough money to meet all of your needs, which of course also means that you can sleep better, which for me is how you know that you have financial well-being, is when you have a good night's sleep. It's when you feel like you're in control of your day-to-day finances, so you can pay your bills without worry. You can buy food if you need to without worry. You can cover your rent without worry. So being in control of your money, knowing where it's going, and then having the freedom to make the choices that you want. So if you wanted to start your own business, which is a very expensive thing to do, having some extra money to be able to do that means that you can. If you're in a bad relationship, having money means that you can leave. If you don't like a job, having money means that you can change jobs. It also means that you can order a takeaway some night if you want to treat yourself instead of cooking. So this is really what financial well-being is all about. It's about having enough money to feel secure, to sleep well, and to be able to do what you need and what you want to do. And a quick word about this in the general, in the macro, Today, the spring budget, which is a mini budget, is being put out, and something that we know is happening and will be happening for the next 12 to 18 months is that the cost of living is going up. And I just think it's important, because we're all here together, for me to really quickly explain what that means, because there's a lot of talk about inflation and there's a lot of talk about cost of living, and a lot of people don't actually know kind of what it means. So inflation means that your money buys less. So if you used to buy, what have I got on my desk? If you used to buy a lip gloss and this used to cost £1, if inflation is running at 10%, this now costs £1.10. So what it means is that your money buys less than it used to because things are getting more expensive. So even if you are earning a nice salary, that salary now has to stretch further because everything you buy costs more money. Inflation today was announced at 6.2%. It's the highest inflation we've seen in about 30 years, which is a long time. The Bank of England, experts in the field, think that it's probably going to reach 8 to 10% over the coming months. So understanding your money and understanding what to do with it and how to manage it is really, really important, because everything is going to get more expensive. The second component of that is interest rates. Interest rates is the government's response to inflation is to increase interest rates. So if inflation goes to 10%, the government will increase interest rates for reasons we won't go into unless anyone's interested. The government will increase interest rates in order to try and tackle the inflation. And what that means is that any debt that you have becomes more expensive. So if you have credit card debt, if you're lucky enough to have a mortgage, if you have any kind of credit or debt, that cost of that is going to go up because the interest rate is going to go up. So inflation is a problem because things get more expensive. Interest rates are a problem because debt becomes more expensive. And this is what this whole story is about. So again, if there's more questions, we can kind of get into it. It's not completely relevant to what we're talking about, but because the announcement is being made today and because this is likely to be the next 12 months, I just thought it's important to kind of share what it all means. Okay. So if there's any questions on that, happy to go into it in more depth, but I just wanted to add some clarity to what everyone's talking about. So how do you make the most of your money? You use a budget. Everyone hates the word budget. Everybody hates to budget, but if you can budget right, everything else is easier. And budgeting is not actually as difficult as everyone makes it out to be. So budgeting is all about the money that comes in and the money that goes out. So what money comes in? And I can see somebody's asked a question about scholarships. So feel free to ask the question if you'd like to type in more of a question, but I am going to cover scholarships, absolutely. So there are a few different types of ways that money comes in. As a student, you know that you get your maintenance loan, your student loan. That money comes directly to you. You get it in 3 chunks during the year. And that is, for most students, the bulk of the money that they have coming in. You then have, as one of you has asked, scholarships and bursaries. Scholarships and bursaries are free money, right? It's money that you don't have to pay back. It's usually and grants. It's money that you simply get. You don't have to pay it back. There's a whole range of different types of scholarships and bursaries out there. There are some that are based on academic performance. So if you are top of your school or you score really well in your A-levels in economics, there might be a scholarship specifically for that. But there are also scholarships for underrepresented groups, people who do science. There is, I swear to God, a scholarship for people who commit to being vegetarian for a year. There is money available there as well. I really recommend you have a look at the Scholarship Hub. There's a really, really good listing there of all of the scholarships that are available. It can take time to fill in these forms, but it's free money, so why not, right? So make sure that you have a look at the sites, have a look at which scholarships and bursaries might be for you, and then apply for everything that you think you might be able to get. There are tens of millions of pounds worth of free money out there. So make sure that you get your hands on anything, or at least try and get your hands on anything that might be relevant to you. Of course, a lot of students get jobs, whether they are kind of casual weekend jobs, whether they're summer jobs. A note about jobs, make sure that they are not impacting on your ability to study, which is actually the most important part of your university time. So make sure that the money that you're earning isn't coming at a cost of your actual degree and of doing well. And then of course, side hustles, a lot of people who are doing side hustles, doing deliveries, doing online work, earning money through social media, lots of different types of side hustles out there. So there's money coming in, but there is a lot of money that goes out. And I'm not going to go through each one because we only have a short time together. But as you can see, the biggest component by far is your rent and bills. If you are in block accommodation, like with a company like Unite or with students, the bills will usually be included with the rent. If you're in private accommodation, the bills will come separately. Electricity is the big killer, so keep an eye on electricity bills. They are going up a lot because of inflation, as we've discussed, and various other components. But then, of course, there are other things that people are spending money on, like transport, like takeaways, like groceries. Learn how to cook. If you can cook, you can get your grocery bill right down. So some money coming in, lots of money going out. The question is, how do you balance it? So in the middle, you can see this is how much money is coming in. On the left, you can see that light purple area, that denotes the fact that you've got more money going out than you've got money coming in. That component, the differential, the light purple bit, that's the bit that gets you into debt. Because the only way to pay for stuff if you don't have the money is to borrow, is to use your overdraft, is to use a credit card. That's fine in the short term. It's not great, but it's fine in the short term. But what happens is it ends up as a spiral where you need to borrow money to pay off money that you've borrowed. And with interest rates going up, that is actually where you can run into real trouble. The alternative on the right-hand side is that you're spending less money than you have coming in. That leftover money, that light purple bit on the right-hand side of the screen, that's money that you control. That's money that you can spend on what you want to spend or save or invest or do whatever it is that you want to do with it. So many, if not most students spend a certain amount of time on the left-hand side of the screen where they're spending more than they can afford. Really what you want to be doing is at worst, you want to be in the middle, and at best you want to be on the right-hand side. If you do end up in debt, in debt difficulty, there's a lot of help out there. It is not catastrophic. It is how most people in our country live their life, but it is not ideal. So budgeting, knowing how much is coming in, knowing how much is going out, and trying to balance the two is the most important, most powerful thing that you can do for your money. I'm going to leave this up while I quickly check any questions. Oh, quite a few questions. That's great. We love that. So to get scholarships and bursaries, you go to the site and then you choose the ones you want to apply for. And then there's usually a form. It's pretty much what you'd expect. If you go to the Scholarship Hub, that is the site, the Scholarship Hub. In fact, I'm just going to answer it here so that you've got it. And hopefully, how would you like to answer this question? Oh, I've never done this before. Oh, here we go. Okay. The Scholarship Hub I think it's .com. Let me have a quick look. And if you have a look there and you answer some of the questions, you will then be able to see which ones you want to apply for. Let me just make sure I've got the right site for you. Yep, .org.uk. .org.uk. There you go. Hopefully you can see that. Do you think inflation will keep going up in 2024? So I'm not gonna say that I know, because obviously I don't know. My guess, as somebody who works in the sector, and I studied finance and I worked in wealth management, so I was in the financial world. My assumption is inflation is with us for at least the next couple of years. Yes. So I would imagine by mid-2024 we'll already be kind of panned down, but it's really difficult to know. Assume it's going to be with us for at least 12 to 18 months. That's a pretty safe assumption. Probably not at the kind of levels that we're seeing though. These are unusually high levels, and the government is going to have to try and get it under control. Can you suggest some scholarships? I can't. Scholarships are very dependent on who you are, what you're studying, what your background is, sometimes what ethnicity or gender you are. So I can't suggest any particular scholarships, but I do recommend you have a look. happy with your questions to find work, study program, scholarship, or funding necessary permanent residence. Okay, so somebody else was going to have to help that. That's very specific. What is the best way to study in London? So I don't know what you mean. You'll need to give me a bit more information. How do we get to graduate and teaching research assistant? Due to inflation going up, doesn't mean tuition fees in the US will go up as well. We don't know. I can't speak to what's going to happen in the United States. All right, so let's move along. So in terms of spending, a certain amount of spending is necessary because stuff costs money. The good stuff to spend money on is things that you need to stay alive. So food, very important. To help you succeed, like getting the books that you might need, or doing any assignments that require money. And of course, having a great student experience, networking events, going out with friends. These are all really important components of university life. Bad spending is buying stuff that you don't need, especially if you're using debt in order to buy it, and you're buying it because you think other people care. This is a sort of quote from out of the movie Fight Club. Just be really careful buying stuff because you need to feel like you impressing other people. Other people don't care. Genuinely buy what makes you happy, buy what brings you joy, and find friends that view the world the same way as you do. There are too many people spending way too much money on rubbish and then regretting it later. I'm not going to read these through. Screenshot it if you want. Just a couple of tips and hacks for how to cut your spending down. A lot of good stuff in here. Take a screenshot, and I'm going to say 3, I'm going to say 2, I'm going to say 1, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. One of the easiest ways that you can budget is actually to download one of the tools and apps. Inside the Black Bullion platform, there is a budgeting tool as well. These technology solutions can just make your life easier. They'll do all the heavy lifting for you. So I do recommend getting a good budgeting tool and using it. And again, screenshot if you like to. I'm not going to go through them. I don't recommend any one over another. These are just some of the ones that are out there. Okay. Now, in terms of your mental health, let's dig into that a little bit. So mental health is, of course, how you function and how you feel and how you get on with your day and whether you're able to. And there are all sorts of different types of mental health challenges and well-being challenges that people deal with. Having poor mental health statistically makes your money more difficult to manage. People who struggle with their mental health struggle with their money. There are countless research pieces out there about this. This is very much just our understanding of how mental health works. Worrying about your money will tend to make mental health worse. So it is a cycle. Bad mental health leads to bad money leads to bad mental health. So you've got to break the cycle by looking after ideally both. But of course, we're talking specifically about your money. But if you feel like you're in control of your money, if you have enough money to buy what you need, if you're sleeping well and you're able to focus on your studies, then your mental health, you are able to focus more on your mental health and to look after your mental health more. So it's really, really important that you think about it. In terms of how you're feeling and how you can deal with how you're feeling. So just some statistics for you. We did a research piece at Black Bullion about how students feel about money. And if you are stressed, you're not alone by any stretch of the imagination. 3 out of every 4 students, 75%, say that they worry about finance all the time. 75%, 3 out of 4, which means that of the people in this call, 42 people are worrying about money, right? It's a lot of people. You're not alone. A lot of people say that worrying about their money impacts on their mental health. They don't sleep as well. They don't focus on their studies as well. They're not able to make friends as easily, struggle to get out of bed, don't want to get into classes. Again, if you are struggling with these things, you're not alone. There's a lot of people that are going through this. The trick is how to break that cycle, right? How to break that cycle out, and how to be one of the 25% of students who's not worrying about money all the time and is better able to focus on their studies. So a couple of ways, let's quickly look at the questions before we go there. Self-control is important to save money. Yeah. So how do we have self-control? So that's a great question. So self-control, actually, if you think about it, flip it around and think, instead of thinking I have to have self-control, think about what makes me happy. Right? What makes me happy? What does buying What kind of things do I buy that actually make me happy? And what kind of things do I buy just because I feel like I should buy them, right? So I personally love coffee, love coffee. This is my third coffee of the day, right? And I wrote up how many times I was buying coffee when I was buying it outside and how much it was costing me. And it was costing me like 30 pounds a week, 30 pounds a week in coffee, right? Then I looked at coffee machines, and a coffee machine is 50 pounds, which is a week and a half of takeaway coffees. So I bought a coffee machine, right? I bought a coffee machine because that 50 pounds, I now have as many coffees as I want. It doesn't cost me anything else. And the money that I used to spend on coffee, I now save, right? Because coffee makes me happy. I don't drink a lot. I don't like gin and tonic. I don't understand why people like gin and tonic. I don't like gin and tonic. So because I don't like it, I don't spend money on it. So is that self-control, or is that just doing what makes me happy instead of doing what makes other people happy, right? So if you go out with friends and everyone else is having a drink and you don't really like to drink, don't have a drink. And then you spend £5 less on your dinner, and then you can do better things with that £5. So it is about practice. Anonymous person has asked the question. There's no easy answer to self-control. There just isn't. But when you spend your money, if all you do, and if this is the only thing you get out of our time together, if all you do is think for 1 second before you spend your money, you're less likely to spend money that you don't want to spend. Because what happens is we have no impulse control, right? So you're flicking through Instagram and somebody's wearing a nice hat that you like, and you can press buy now. So you do, and then it's got your PayPal connected to it, right? So you say buy now, you click your PayPal, and next thing you know, you spend £10 because there's a nice hat that someone's wearing, right? So if you then say, oh, I like that hat, I'm going to put my phone down, I'm going to think about it for 1 minute, chances are you're not going to buy it. So put some things into place in your life that means that you don't have to have self-control, because you're giving your brain a moment to catch up. So I've disconnected my PayPal completely from my ASOS account, right? Completely. So that when I see something, I then have to go and type in the whole card number, and I can't be bothered. So that's self-control. I could talk about this for hours, and we're not going to, but hopefully that helps a little bit. Think about what makes you happy and spend that money. Don't spend money on things that make other people happy, because that won't make you happy and you'll run out of money, and that will make you very sad ultimately. Aisha's asking if I'm located in the United Kingdom. We are located in the UK. You wouldn't know because the sunshine out there, but we are in fact in the UK right now. All right. So hopefully that was helpful. All right. So a couple of tips. So the first thing, which ties a little bit into what I was saying, is to understand your money moods and how they impact on money. So some people spend money when they're sad, right? You're feeling a bit depressed, so you order a takeaway. Some people spend money when they're feeling happy. I'm celebrating, so I'm going to order a takeaway. Some people spend money when they're feeling lonely. I'm feeling lonely, I'm going to buy myself a new hat, right? If you know yourself and you know how your moods impact on how you think about money, then that helps with the self-control of how you spend your money. If you think I'm going to go and buy something, and then you realize actually you don't really want to buy it, and you rather take that money and put it into a savings pot, you will actually feel better, because it helps with your financial well-being. It helps you have a little bit of money on the side. These are all of the things that build up that muscle of feeling like you're financially in control. Try and get your money organized. It's a really, really big one, especially people who struggle with their mental health tend to not like things in chaos. It's not good for the mind. It's not good for anyone's mind, but it's really not good for your mind if you struggle a little bit with your mental health. So if you have your bills organized, you know where your cards are, you've got standing orders to pay for any expenses that you have. You don't overspend when you're at the supermarket. If you can be organized, have a list of things you're going to buy at the supermarket so you don't impulse spend, right? Things like that will really help you feel in control, which again, really, really important to feel as though you're in control. That'll also stop you from spending emotionally. So who's been to the supermarket and you're feeling a little bit hungry, so you grab a chocolate or a burger or a chips that you wouldn't have bought otherwise, right? Because when you're emotional, you tend to spend money. It's just what happens. It's also social media does that to us, right? Because it makes you feel like everyone's living this amazing life and you're the only one that isn't. So you need to spend that money to feel like you're doing what everybody else is. Hat tip, no one's doing it. There's a couple of people that are behaving like that. Most other people are not. It's just trying to drive everyone towards certain behaviors. They get at your emotional state. So don't spend emotionally. Be aware of your emotions and how they're impacting on you. Bill anxiety, which is the idea that when bills come, you like get into a panic about it, is very, very common. There's a lot of people who won't open bank statements because they're worried about the number. I think that's a little bit silly because the number's there, whether you look at it or you don't look at it. But it is a very real thing. The best way to avoid feelings of anxiety and stress around bills is to have a standing order or a direct debit so that things are simply paid on time. So if you set up with your bank a direct debit to pay your rent each month, you don't have to worry about paying it because it's automatically out. You just need to make sure that there's enough money in the account. And that's why budgeting is important. But the best way to get over bill anxiety is to have a direct debit. So the money is simply paid. You pay what you need to pay. You don't lose your electricity or your home, but you don't have to physically open that envelope, which does cause a lot of people stresses. Talking about it, sharing your worries, being with friends who think the same way as you do is probably one of the most important things that you can do. If you are hanging out with people who have a lot more money than you, who are spending a lot more money than you, who don't care about money in the same way, you'll end up doing things that don't sit well, because peer pressure is a real thing and it's okay. This is how humans work. But building the right groups around you is really, really crucial to how you feel, but also how you spend. And looking after your general well-being. So getting your exercise, eat well, sleep well, all the stuff your grandmother told you. Get enough rest, drink enough water, don't drink too much alcohol, don't do drugs. Look after your physical body and look after your mental body and look after your financial body, and you have everything that you need, or at least 90% of what you need, right? If you can sort those three things out, everything else becomes a lot easier. And remember that you're not alone. There are an awful lot of people out there who are not feeling great about things right now, especially with COVID. People are feeling burnt out. People are worrying about money. People are worrying about their mental health. So whatever you're going through, and this is really important, you are not alone. Whatever you're going through, other people are going through it as well. Anyone that you go to for help has seen it before. Don't try and fight this stuff by yourself. It can be too much. There are things that can be too much. And there are a lot of organizations out there that will be able to support you if you do need any help. So please do get in touch with somebody. You can always reach me on Instagram. If you need somebody, you can always message me directly on Instagram. But reach out if you need any sort of help, whether it's around debt, whether it's around your mental health, whether it's just around struggling and you're just feeling just a bit rubbish and you just need someone to talk to, be sure to reach out and to get that help. And so as a last point, again, I'm not going to read them all through, and then we're going to take questions, the last few questions there as well. But just some tips and hacks for how to save a bit of money. There are a lot of ways of getting a lot more for your money than you might think. So screenshot, hopefully some of those are useful. So much learning. Thank you. My absolute pleasure. I'm glad it's helpful. Can we have a copy of the presentation? I will speak with THE and make sure that there's a copy. Jamie will tell me what's happening. Yes, she's nodding at me. Great. I like clothes. Clothes make me happy. Me too. But I prefer traveling, but it's difficult to control from not buying. Yeah, I love traveling. I love traveling. I totally get wanting to spend money on travel. So here's my little tip. This is what I do. I have an account. I have an account with my bank, which is my holiday account. And I have a standing order that money goes into that every month. And I know that way that there's a pot of money for all of my traveling. And if there's money left over, I buy clothes. But if I don't save that money in for traveling, there'll be no money left over. Think about it this way. When does the tax man take our money? The tax man takes our money before we see it, right, Jamie? He takes your money straight out of your salary before it lands in your hands, because he knows that when it's in your hands, he's never getting any of it. So he takes it before you're able to spend it. But we wait until the end to save up for money for ourselves. How does that make sense? Put the money that you want to be saving, put it into the bank right at the beginning, and then spend what's left, because there'll be nothing left at the end to save. So if you like traveling, or you like clothes, or you like books, I have a real book problem, save the money right at the beginning, and then whatever's left over, you can then be spending on stuff that isn't as powerful for you. Don't let Rishi Sunak be smarter with your money than you are with your money, because that's crazy talk. You're a super personality. Nice interacting with you. Well, thank you very much. That's very, very sweet. So please do follow us. Please do follow us on Instagram at Black Bullion. And if there's any other questions, please do. You can always message us there, because we are completely out of time. But I hope you found that useful. I wish you guys all the very best. Remember that there are many, many organizations out there that can help you. And if we can ever be of help, just reach out on Instagram and we would be delighted. Have a fantastic rest of week. Jamie, over to you.
Vivi, thank you so much. That was incredibly helpful. And I know there were some questions in the audience from students who are maybe still considering whether they want to study in the UK or the US or Canada. And I just want to reiterate that this advice and the tips around how to manage your money and how to look after your financial well-being and your mental health are relevant no matter where you end up studying. And it's incredibly important to be aware of these things. Absolutely, Vivi will share the slides with us, and we'll make sure that they get sent to anyone who attended today's session so that you can use it as a resource as you begin your studies. Thanks again. We love having you. And thanks to our audience for joining us. We've got a couple more Funding Week sessions, one later today and one tomorrow. So do check out the schedule and join us if you can. Thanks, everybody.